Hi guys, welcome to my Flosstube number 14. Hello to a load of new people. I've had a astronomical bump in my subscribers. I've gone up nearly 50, so I am currently just above 500, which is pretty outstanding really. I'm thrilled to pieces, so thank you ever so much. If you're new, welcome. You're more than welcome here. I do a lot of cross stitch and I'll show you that, but I also talk an awful lot. So I find I'm Marmite, you know, you either enjoy watching me and don't mind stitching along with me babbling along, or it's like, oh, I can't bear it, all she does is witter on about nothing, unsubscribe, which I get a lot of as well. So I figure I'm one or the other. Anyway, welcome. So last week I was here on Friday afternoon and I was just a couple of hours into my 24 hours of cross stitch. Oh, I did it. I finished my 24 hours. It took me right through till almost midnight on Sunday to do it, because all of a sudden everything needed doing. I couldn't just sit there and do a 12-hour stint, which is pretty much what I was planning to do on the Saturday. It just didn't happen. It was literally, can I have this? Can we do that? Well, I need to do this. I need to go and do that. I need to go out and sort out this. It was frenetic for a bit. So I did get my 24 hours in, almost to the minute. And my eyes weren't working. My hands were sore. Even for me, when I do get to sit down and stitch a lot sometimes, 24 hours over the space of what was really about 2.5 days. Man, that was a lot. I'm obviously hashtag team sleep because I have too much going on to just sit and do it. I couldn't clear. I couldn't just say, everybody leave me alone for 24 hours, because that's never, ever, ever, ever going to happen in my house. Anyway, so I've had a bit of a funny week where I really couldn't face doing much stitching. So I've pulled my Fimo out and I've been making little, I'm looking at them obviously, I've been making canes and beads and things for needle minders and things like that. So I was just sitting having fun with the Fimo I could find. So I've been making canes. Ooh, can you see? It's where you line it all up and you make like a tube, and it's got the same pattern all the way through it. So that's a more simpler design there. This is just to show you what I've been doing instead of stitching. I have been doing stitching too. Oh, I'm just gonna reach always, as soon as I get on, I'm like, hi, welcome. I'm just gonna reach over there for something. Happens every time. And I did a little checkerboard swirl last night. I'm just about to see that. I only use little bits. It's like with my stitching, I stitch my thread right down to a needle's length or less if I can get away with it. And what I'm making, these are just sitting on a flam base waiting to be baked. Those are all the bits from the tag ends, but they'll be needle minders, little bits and pieces. Anybody who gets anything from me generally knows you generally get a little bit of something. You know, these are really tiny. That one's quite a big one, but they're all the tag end bits. And I've been making these. I'm not going to be able to hold up quite so well because they're going to fall because they're only resting. They're beads waiting to be baked. You bake them on a piece of t-shirt. There's a lovely lady on YouTube called Turtle Soup Beads who does brilliant beads, and she says to bake them on a piece of old t-shirt because then you don't get that funny flat spot on them. So that's polymer clay that you bake in the oven, and then you can turn it into something, basically turns into plastic. So I make a lot of little bits and pieces with that. By the way. So for a couple of days there I was just fiddling on with lumps of Fimo. Fimo goes a bit hard and crotchety when it's been left for a long time. It'll never cure by itself. It has to be baked to cure. But it does get a bit old and crotchety in the meanwhile, so it's yeah. Anyway, finally got myself back stitching after a bit of an exhaustive bit. So I'll show you what I did in my 24 hours of stitching, and then I'll show you what I've done since then. So I did start 4 of the 5 pieces I was going to start. The one I didn't start is the kit, the globe on the black, because by halfway through Saturday my eyes were going. I was about 9 hours in and my eyes were shot, so I couldn't contemplate starting on the black. So that is still completely sealed up. I haven't even opened the packet. I will start this very, very soon, but I didn't start it. So the first thing I started was this gorgeous Jardin Privé pattern of the Little Red Riding Hood in the snow globe. There. I think that was the first thing I started. No, I started my little Nora Corbett lady first. Right, this is the only one that I've carried on stitching on. So I'm going to put in a picture here of where I got to at the end of 24 hours of cross stitch. So that's what it looked like when I'd done however many hours it is I did on that. And since then, I picked this up again yesterday, and this is where I am now. So I finished everything inside the snow globe. Is done. My ear's making a funny noise. Excuse me. Still doing it. I hate that. And that's the start of the wolf in his granny's night dress at the top there. And then I've got the base of the snow globe, which is completely full. That's full stitching down there, but it'll be really cute and it's be quite quick. Now, don't look too closely at the pattern and the stitching, because the leaves are all the wrong colours. They're in the wrong place. I didn't realise I switched symbols and stitched some of the leaves the wrong colours. I've frogged this part of this snow globe out 4 times because I made mistakes in it. I was super tired, my eyes were gone, and I've fudged it and made it work. And the wolf isn't central. He looks off kilter to me, like he's sliding off, and I suppose he might be, but when his feet are on it, I think he's going to look a bit more balanced. But I've checked and double checked, and he does sit 2 stitches this way off centre. He does on the pattern, so I know he is an extra stitch off because I have got mistakes in it. But that's where I've got to, and I absolutely love it. It's a lovely neat size. It's just, I know the wolfie's going to be this big, and then the bottom of the snow globe's going to come to about here. I have red paint around my nail. I've tried to scrub it off. It's there until it wears off, basically. It's just down the sides of my nail. It looks horrid. It's paint. So that's where I've got to. So I'm super pleased with that one. And in the same vein, here is my Alice in Wonderland. Sorry, I did mean to get these all out of the packet. You can see I started off well and got that one out. Again, the Jardin Privé pattern. There's Alice in the snow globe with the rabbit on the top. And I have got 2. Let's grab you out and get your rubbish off you. Here is where I am on Alice. So not anywhere near as far done, but I've got her done, and I've got 1 colour of the Cheshire Cat done. I didn't get the 2nd colour of the Cheshire Cat done because I didn't have the colour downstairs and I had people asleep in my bedroom, so I couldn't nip up and grab it without disturbing everybody. So there she is. So I've started some of the snow globe. I'm going to learn with this one. I'm going to fill in the inside of the snow globe before I go round with the snow globe. So if my stitches are a little bit out, which I'm half expecting them to be, I can just fudge the snow globe once, not 4 times. So that's where I got to on Alice. Now, side note, Jardin Privé patterns. I picked these up from Arts and Designs because I saw them and I thought they were brilliant, and I'd never seen them before, and I've never been near Jardin Privé patterns before. I went on the website. You can get all of her patterns. There are 7 pages of them. You just click your country and it translates it, because obviously they're French, translates it into English, and they're PDF patterns. You can buy them and download them, and there's already 2 more that I am very taken with. Ladies with a big dress filled in with stitching, and there's lots of samplers which are like lots of little squares, and one of them's cats, and there's dogs, and there's all sorts. There's Halloween, there's Easter. I love them. Anyway, there will be more of these quickie Jardin Privé patterns on their way to me when I've done a few. I'm intending to finish these, guys. I really am intending to get them done. So there's that one. I've done that one, and the one I started with was my Nora Corbett Gardenia. try and do this without rustling. And this is the one that I had the beads pack for and I didn't quite have all the DMCs for. So DMCs arrived the next day. They put my 2 orders together. They were pretty brilliant. There she is. So there's Gardenia. Oh, I'll get this shine right. So she's lovely, absolutely lovely. And the bit that I got done in the time was this, most of the inside of her skirt, just going up into the bit towards the top of the bodice there where her arms will get in the way, so I'll have to deal with some skin soon. But that, the middle of that is pale yellow and it's fully stitched in. There's 2 greens around the outside, and then there's, I think there's a further 3 greens, and then like the outer coating. So it is on an angle. It's canting on an angle because she's standing elegantly. So that's where I got to with that. That's quite a lot of stitching in there. And bar one, which I can still see and might need to fix yet. There, one bad stitch. I don't know what's wrong with it. I think there's a knot behind it. I'm not sure, because I tie knots, because I just do them automatically. There's one bad stitch there that catches my eye. Something terrible. I might need to take that out and redo that stitch, but I'm wondering if I'm going to be bothered. Anyway, so this is on my funky piece of greeny blue fabric, but she's going to sit rather nicely in there. And all the other, now I've got all the floss colours, it looks fine. It looks fine. So I put that much work into her, but I need to get back to her quite quickly. But honestly, my eyes were gone. My eyes were gone for quite a few days there. And I just did little tiny bits here and there. Sorry, I'm rustling. I'm just trying to get it all put back in the right bag. My wonderful project bags. Hopeless. And there's the beads pack with the treasures. 3 packets with treasures and 3 packets of beads in there. Which obviously I won't use until the very, very end. And then the last thing I started was my letter E mermaid. And I did most of this while watching Calamity Jane. If you've got the BBC iPlayer at the moment, they're having a musicals today on Radio 2, BBC Radio 2. They've got a musicals day, and I think it's running through the end of the week because I listen to Radio 2 at work and pretty much all the time. But they've got quite a few of the classic musicals, quite a few of the Fred Astaire musicals, things that you don't see on Netflix or Prime ever, and if they are, they're not free. But they're on BBC iPlayer at the moment, so go watch them. Calamity Jane, Singing in the Rain, personal favourites of mine. Just by the by. So as soon as I pulled this out, I thought, oh, the Deadwood stage, straight away. Here we go. This is my letter E mermaid, which I have changed up the colours. And I made a huge mistake. I was stitching along happily with it, and then realised that I'd stitched the wrong piece of the... I'll just show you. Here I am. So that's the middle tine of the E there, and I'd stitched the lighter colour for the ends of the E, but because I'm using that colour as the main background of the E, I had to take that out and go again. I've introduced another couple of colours as well, just to make reading the pattern easier, because I'd said all of this bit of the E I'll do in this, and it turned out it was 2 different colours. So again, I've done the trick of stitching a piece of waste fabric on the side so that it fits neatly into the Q-snap, because it wasn't going to fit. I started off stitching it in hand, and it's a 35 count linen, which I sploshed a bit of dye onto. And I'm doing 2 strands, and I wasn't happy with my in-hand stitching. Normally in hand I just stitch, it looks the same. This didn't, it wasn't pulling through as neatly as I wanted it to, so I've had to put a bit of waste on the fabric on the sides so that I could fit in my Q-snap, and I was much happier with it then. So I've done a little bit of the hair, I've done some of her skin. I didn't use the charted skin, but I've kept her Caucasian because this is my E fairy. So I picked the skin colour that kind of mostly matched me, but she's not the lily white that they're always charted in. She's a bit peachier because I'm a bit peachier, and so I haven't done any of the purples yet, but a little bit of the E is done, and I'm really quite happy with that. And once I got going and I'd worked out my system of colours, I was much happier, and I just got on with her. Did quite a lot of stitching on that. Here's my colour conversion. Look, it's all scrappily, scrabbly. And here's my here's my vast collection of colours there. Some of them are just DMCs pulled, some of them are anchors. I've got a couple of overdyes. Give me 2 seconds. I'm not very neat, but we all know that, and it's okay. And I didn't do a great deal of prep bar scraffling them out to find what I needed. Right, so that's going to be the majority of the hair. Is going to be this variegated Swiss chocolate for weeks, and then the dark colour in the E there was called for Bejeweled. Now I have Bejeweled, but I went with Island Blue, which is basically Bejeweled, because I had that too, because I randomly buy ones that I like the colour of. I bought Dutch Iris to go in the E. Most of the E will be Dutch Iris, and I already had a skein of Dutch Iris. I should have just looked, because it's one of my, it's that lovely periwinkle blue purple, so I'd already bought one of those. And then I found a little bit left of Huckleberry, which is also in the E, because I needed another. And I've also got Capri, which I already had. So, because you need, I think, 3 tones of the sort of the sea greeny colours to go to be the waves in the E. So there's my 3, if you see what I mean. It's got the E, and then it's got like splooshy waves on it. So those are my 3 colours for the splooshy waves, with the Huckleberry in it too. And then the 2 colours of the actual letter of the E, I pulled a DMC and I pulled Dutch Iris, because they look like they went nicely together. That is 158, which is, you can see it's a very purple tone blue. It's definitely blue, but it's purple tone. Very nice. And then the actual mermaid, I'm using a whole pile of purples. I've got ultraviolet, and then I've got 1 purple to go darker, very few stitches of that, which is essentially an ultraviolet anyway. And then I've got 2, I think they're 2.9 and 2.10. Yes, 2.9 and 2.10 there. So there's 4 of them, and I'm going to use the very, very pale purple Crikey that I got to do the wings on the Nora Corbett, because they didn't have the periwinkle in stock, so I got the very pale light lavender colour. So I'll use that little tiny bit of sparkle, because there's only a few stitches. It'll just be a few stitches. The very, very palest yellow on her tummy there will be the very, very pale Crikey. So I'm just going to put a few little sparkly stitches down her tummy. And then the beads I'll just find beads. I've got beads everywhere. Apart from when I'm just looking to just pick up a packet of beads. There's a packet of beads. They are absolutely microscopic white beads. They're petites. They were eyes. I used to make flat Fimo things, so they were eyeballs. I found them there. You can see the packets. Something going on downstairs. Slightly sticky because it's been sitting in a box of Fimo, and Fimo is one of those weird polymers that eats plastic. It eats other plastic. If you leave Fimo in a plastic box and you don't wrap your Fimo, it has a chemical reaction with the plastic, and it eats it and makes it sticky. Anyway, ick. Always wrap your Fimo and keep it together. I put it in like muffin cases, parchment paper muffin cases, in my big box of Fimo, which is actually just there. It's full of muffin cases with Fimo in it to stop it eating the plastic box. Anyway, there's my mermaid. So they were my pieces, and of course I stitched a tiny bit on Fragile, which I showed you last time. That started me off. And then the last I think I had an hour and 40 minutes or something left. So in that very, very last bit, I'm just putting a few more bits of my mermaid again, another fantastic project bag. I just put in, till I ran out of time, I put in books on my bookshelf. So I've made the decision to backstitch them and to give them letters. So backs of the bigger books will have the letters spelling out January on the spines of the books, and you can see we've had very funny temperatures. We had it was cold, and then we had a weird warm bit, and then we've gone back cold, and then we went a bit warm, and actually I've got snow on the ground outside again. It was snowing when I woke up this morning, but I'm not planning on going anywhere to see human beings until I go to work on Monday. I might go to the tip if I can be bothered filling the car up and going to the tip. I might go to the tip, but I won't interact with anybody there. People stay well away from you. So this is my temperature bookshelf, and I'm motoring on with January. I'm going to have to do a strand of brown next to finish off the shelf so that I can carry on with January, but I tend to write my temperatures down on a Sunday, so that just took me over the finish line, and I was done, and I went out. It was just before midnight. I got my stitches in, and that was me burst. The boys are messing around downstairs. Hello, if you're new. I have a noisy household. I share my house with a grown-up man who is Scottish and loud. He is one of the world's loudest people. He's got one of those voices that can be heard for literally miles. And my 4 children, 3 big girls, and my little boy, who's the little man who is driving Robin up the pole. He's attacking him basically. He's just going "Wah!" at him every 5 seconds. And he says hot coffee. He hasn't got a cup of hot coffee because I don't have a cup of hot coffee, so he doesn't have a cup of hot coffee. So he's just saying hot coffee to try and get Austin. Because, oh, I've got a cup of hot coffee, so don't jump at me because I'll spill my hot coffee and burn myself. He's going up the shed. That was the sound of the... so the dogs are probably going to start barking because he's going to go past the dogs. So I've got 2 lad dogs, I've got 2 bad cats. Eric is currently in my bedroom. He's sleeping in the window. There's a lot of soft old clothes in the corner there. He's taken to sleeping on them. That's him talking on the walkie-talkie now, because Robin takes the walkie-talkie up to the shed. The shed is about 20 metres from the house. So he goes up there and takes the walkie-talkie because Austin needs him a lot. The more we're off, the more Austin needs his daddy. We have got about another 5 weeks in lockdown. They told us yesterday on the news not to expect the kids to go back to school before March the 8th. And it is January the 28th today. So we've got at least another 5 weeks. So it'll be another 5 weeks before we can even think about me getting back to my other job. And I'm furloughed tomorrow because we've run out of work at my original job. It's all very well being able to go in and be able to work in peace and quiet, not have anybody interacting with us and being safe. We've run out of work now. So until more orders come in, we're going to be furloughed a little bit now. We're going to probably be in the beginning of the week, and then if there's nothing to keep us through the week, we'll be furloughed through the back end of the week. Today I'm furloughed anyway from my second job because I work Thursdays there, except not at the moment because they are closed because they are hospitality. I'm going to be very, very busy when the world goes back to normal. I'm going to find myself extremely busy. Anyway, so news about my eldest daughter has heard from Cambridge. They have offered her a place to read law at Cambridge. They offered to 20 people. Her college that she's applied to Corpus Christi, they have offered to 20 people. She is one of them. So as long as she's got to accept her offer, which she's going to do as soon as she's read through all the forms. She has to accept the offer, and then she has to get the grades. And this year's grades are strange and up in the air because they're not sitting the exams. The exams are not going to be marked and you're awarded your grade. It's basically based on the work you've done up to the date and a teacher's assessment. It will be put into an algorithm. The algorithm will be thrown in the bin like it was last year, and it's going to be a bit of a mixy muddle, but at the end of the day, as long as she's got those grades, she's going to be going. Wow. So after all that palaver and all that waiting, she's been offered her place, which is outstanding. I was just so proud. I was literally like, I was so proud. So my big girl, even though she's a very, very talented artist, she is going to read law at Cambridge. As long as she gets her grades, which yeah, there's no way she's gonna. Basically all she has to do, because she's already predicted the grades, they offer on your predicted grades, because she's already predicted the grades. As long as her level of work and study doesn't fall below where she is now, those are the grades she will achieve, because she's not going to flunk an exam, because they're not sitting exams. So there's that bit of news. Very pleased, very pleased. Anyway, so other than that, this week I picked up my Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, and I am working on my first block, this block. And what I put in, oh my god, Eric's been sitting on it. White cat. Who has a... For 18 years I have had a black cat. Alright, he's got a little bit of white on him, and I've never noticed cat hair on anything. I appreciate I probably have been covered in cat hair the whole time. Eric is a white cat, and my god, that cat sheds. So excuse the white gingery hairs. Here we are. So I have done a skeleton, and I've done quite a bit of the tombstones and the shadow down the side of the tombstones. This is on my funny, to anyone who's new and hasn't watched back, my funny piece of blurple fabric that I did a bit of a palaver dyeing, but I'm through. Every time I look at it I go, oh, I love it now, and the colours are jumping out of it just like I hoped they would. I did have to do an alteration because the skeleton was charted in a very, very dark brown. My skeleton is in the ecru... Why did I try to say Lego Dimensions? DMC Variations, Lego Dimensions. That was an old game that we got the PS to play. We got the PS4 to play Lego Dimensions 3 Christmases ago. God. DMC Variations, the one that's basically white through an ecru and into a very, very, very pale beige. So that's what my skeleton is. I thought he would do better lighter. And any time I come to something which with the dark fabric looks like it should be jumping, I'll just change it up and carry on. So that's where I am with that. I haven't done any more of the borders. I've got that border stitched. I've got the middle border started, and I've got the second block, the border stitched on that. And I did a little pretty in each corner. I don't think I did one in the bottom. Doesn't matter. That's just living in the Q-snap, because I picked that one up and down quite a lot, because I'm really, really loving, I'm really enjoying how the colours are working on the fabric, which was very deliberate. So other than that, I haven't done any of the stitching apart from last night. I did a little bit of the Better to See You With, which is my huge cross stitch studio chart that I bought myself for Christmas, and worked on I did 1,300 stitches on the first of the month. Last night I put in 580 stitches. It's my trip round Iceland. I finally went and got the full thing downloaded, and I clicked onto Google Maps. I'm always signed into Google, and I thought, right then, I'm going to put myself on the map. Not yet, I'm not. Not on my phone, I'm not. I got there, did it all, tried to zoom in on the map, and I kept selecting other people's pins, and I was like, oh, I mustn't touch other people's pins, and so I exited stage left as quick as I could. I will work it out, but I'll work on a bigger screen, not my phone, for Google Maps. It's really hard. So basically, this lady, who is called, that's upside down, Freya Stein. I'm sorry to anyone who knows what the shape of Iceland, I just had the pages upside down then. I apologise profusely. If I was holding up a map of the UK upside down, I'd be like, oh, you dummy. Sorry about that. So basically, she's done a full trip around Iceland, going from point to point to point to point to point, and you stitch the number of stitches, and it's a year-long one on Full Coverage Fanatics, which is my favy Facebook group. There are 6 there's not 62, there's 72 stops around Iceland. So I thought, well, I'll see how far I get. Yeah, I've so far made it to point 2, which is the Blue Lagoon. Lovely. I've gone from the Blue Lagoon to Radisson Blue Reykjavik. That's where I am at the minute. Am I the best to see you with? Now, I might have made a monumental error with it. I bought myself 20 count pre-gridded fabric, pre-gridded Ada, Zweigart base, and on New Year's Eve I mapped out the shape, and in 100 by 100 stitch blocks I drew the blocks, I drew the squares, just so I could easily see where I was on the pattern, because I know how I stitch. I do a little bit here, I do a little bit there, I count down and do a little bit down there. And the more I'm stitching the pale blue sky, I'm looking at these lines that I drew onto the pre-gridded fabric, and literally, oh no, I did a little test bit, because I'd marked them off without even thinking about it, with a Bic Intensity Fine liner. In this, it was this one, this offending article here. Yeah. So I'm looking at it and thinking, shit, this is not going to come out. Because obviously I can see it clearly through the pale blue stitching. I can also see the lines, the grid lines through it, which is meant to wash out. So I cut myself a little tester piece off the corner, drew on it a square, and oh no, and I've washed it. And it's not come out. It's gone paler, but it has not come out. Now, with only, what, 1880 stitches into it, of a 500,000 stitch piece, it's in the washing machine at the minute. I've put it on a 60-degree wash with one of the kids' duvet covers. I've just rammed them in the wash and I've set it to a 60-degree wash. Because I can sacrifice that many stitches rather than stitch the whole thing and realise I've made a monumental error and I've wasted 15 years of my life stitching this piece, and all I can see is grid lines. So we'll see how it comes out of the washing machine. It's either going to be the most beautifully clean, clear, soft piece of, soft piece of Ada that is perfectly, totally able to be stitched on. It's going to ting. It's my mum. Oh, I need to send her a picture too. My Christmas cactus that I killed has flowered. One bit of it's alive. I've jumped ship. Yeah, so it's in the washing machine. And if I need to junk it, I'll junk it and buy a new piece of fabric. Because I'll use the 20 count Ada. The grid lines are fine one side or the other. And everywhere where there's dark colours, it'll be fine, because it's a lot of dark. It's a lot of trees. But the sky, which is the top this much around the ears, I'm going to be able to see the grid lines, and I know it's going to piss me off forever. So it's in the washing machine now, and if it's ruined, it's ruined. I'll buy a new piece of Ada and I'll restart it, because it's only a few stitches. And if I restart it, obviously, I'll restart Iceland, because, oops. I was stitching on it last night and I was thinking, I need to know now. And Kim suggested I spot clean my really bad stains off that, and I'm going to do that too. Kim, I'm going to do it, don't worry. I'm going to get that out of that before I have to stitch on it. I'm now like thinking, I don't want to spend so many years stitching on these pieces for them to be rubbish, because I'll always be able to see it. So it's in the washing machine right now. I said to Robin, I'm going to stick this on and I'm going to go and record my Flosstube, because then my mind's on something else while that is on at 60 degrees. Either it's going to be completely plain, all the grid lines are going to be gone, and I'm just going to work on it with my proper pen that actually comes out, or it's going to be awful and I'll just use this huge metre by a metre 40, I think it is. It's a metre cut from a full length bolt of Ada. I'll just use it for every other 20 count project I'm ever going to do, which I'm already going to start another little tiny full coverage, which is going to come out about this size for Maddie for university, but I'll start that later and show you next time, or the time after, whenever it is I have started it. So that was my bit of a mistake. Oops. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. It'll either be fine and I'll continue stitching with it, or it'll be ruined, and at least I know now. I just need to know if it's ruined or not. Just need to know. I put them up there because I had them last week to show you and I forgot to show you. Robin came up and he went, "Did you show them?" I was like, "What?" He has been busy. Now, this is something that Mama Loves You GB quite often mounts her cross stitch on bobbins. Now, I know her bobbins will be vintage and probably very expensive. My mum's pinging me, which is nice. She's learned how to use Messenger. So Robin, I showed him them and I said, "Come on, could you make something like that?" And he was like, "Yeah." So he disappeared into the shed and he came back with bobbins. Now, how Mama Loves You GB does it, she's called Michelle. I watch her, but she doesn't watch me, obviously, because she's one of the influencers on the... This is how you do it, that you mount your piece and you either can put it out on a display, or if it's a, say this was a band sampler and not a Renato Parolin Bassicure 1. It's either Bassicure 1, Bassicure 2 or Bassicure 3. There was chickens, bunnies or sheep, I think. Anyway, mine's bunnies. I've shown it before. Anyway, or you hang it. You can hang it. So this is me asking if you think these would be a nice thing for Robin to make, for people to display pieces of appropriately sized cross stitch on. I mean, he could make them in any length. The spindle is not a problem at all to get hold of, and then these are hand turned. He's just turned those so they're not identical because they're hand turned on the lathe. And I asked him, he was very reluctant to put a screw in. I said, "Could you just put a brass screw so that I could post them flat?" And then they're super easy. You just undo that, undo the screw there, and then all you do to finish your piece, you just fold over and you just sew a line, making a pocket, and you just slide it in there, put the end on, do up the screw, and that's it, done. Finished, FFO. I just found this just happened to be exactly the right size, which is still not FFO'd, but I suppose I could FFO it onto the spindles. So what do you think? Yay? Nay? Good plan? They could be bigger, they can be, this can be wider, this can be longer, this can be shorter. Spindles. Idea? He's very enthusiastic. He had such a good response to his thread drops that he's really, you know, getting thinking, getting busy and asking me what he can make. And that was one of the things, having just watched her, I said, "You know what I saw?" So they're brand new. He's just made them. He's made them out of oak, because this is oak, those are oak, but they're brand new from the same Scottish oak. They've just got the wax on them. So that's the same Scottish oak as the oak thread drops, but they're waxed up, so that's the colour they go when they're waxed. So there's one idea, and here's another idea, which this is #1 prototype. I said, what about a spindle that sits on your sewing table that's a thread drop? So you can put your threads and sit them on your table. So this is all just prototype, but again, would post flat, which makes posting very much... I'm not made of very intelligent stuff. I just tried to put the wrong end on there. So that just sits together like that. That looks like something you put a kitchen paper on, except it's turned. And he loves doing this. He loves doing the twiddly turny thing on the lathe. Don't know what this wood is. I'm going to guess it's cherry because it's like that colour. And then he turned this, but one, I think the holes are too close together. He doesn't understand. He's just like, more is more, isn't it? I'm like, the holes are too close together. So, but then all you'd need to do is when you finish your project is put your, okay, this is my pencil case, is put your thread drop back in your project bag and get your other one out. So you need to buy one of these and then just buy a thread drop, circular thread drop, which would then sit on for the project you're on. Good idea? Bad idea? Let me know. That was his first prototype. And I was like, that's a little small. Very cute, but a little small. So I think there's a good idea in there. He says he's had a look and he has seen some people do sell things a bit like that. I must have seen it somewhere to have said, oh, I've something like, could you do something like that? You know, obviously I've seen them because I've not just come up with a magical new idea, because you don't, do you? So anyway, other than that, I've remembered, I haven't forgotten, guys, this is still pending, but we now have this many little pillows from Flossmas. From people who are new, I ran basically, Flossmas was like a mass giveaway. I gave away 12 little boxes full of, every other day I gave away a box full of my homemade goodies. I homemade a lot of stuff, and every day I stitched a little picture to turn with a view to turning them into tiny pillows. All the motifs were taken from Renato Paralin's Christmas pattern, which is the best Renato Paralin pattern I've ever seen. So I did a little miniature pillow, and there's one for every, to make a full advent set. And every day I held up a card with a code on it, with just a letter or a number, and then people could email me that's how they look. And these are buttons that I got a big box full of buttons at auction, and they're really lovely. They're not antique, they're not over 100 years old, but they're really lovely old vintage buttons, which I'm going to make, and it'll be a full thing. It'll be a frame with a back with the 24 buttons, and then you get the 24 pillows. So that's still an open giveaway at the moment. So if you're new to me and you can bear it, there are 24 rather long videos sitting in my lists of videos, and there's a code in each one. Email me the code and I'll enter you into it. The people who've entered, I've not forgotten. I am getting on with them. As I said, my eyes went after 24 Hours Cross Stitch, which is organised by a lovely Flosstuber called Jen Lee. It is her Facebook page that runs the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch thing, and it's wonderful and it's so motivating to get on. And I just did loads of new starts, which was just so fun for me, because you'll see from my pieces they're generally enormous pieces. To do some little fun small-ish things was lovely, really nice. And my eyes just got so tired. So that was really good fun. So I'm getting on with those, and I'm jumping subjects a lot now, which must mean I'm nearly done. So before I'm finishing, last week I offered up this thread drop, which has got the small split in it, and I had 48 comments, because I think it's because I've got some new people. I had 48 comments. I did the random number generator, and it has picked Jane L. Jane L is your YouTube handle thing. I'll put your name up here, Jane L. Please email me. You'll find my email address in the description box. If I forget to put it in this one, it's in most of my description boxes, my Gmail. Please email me and I will post this out to you. You are the winner of this rather nice little ash. Haven't done any more Etsy listing, really should have done. I have a whole pile of these and some more oak ones as well, which I haven't listed yet but really must. I've got piles and piles of stuff to list. And a giveaway for this week. Ooh, I haven't thought. What can I give you this one? I'm going that way again. Oh. Just one. Right. Let's pick a really pretty needle minder. they do hang in bunches. That's how strong the magnets are. Obviously the more magnets you've got together, the more strong they are, the stronger they are. Let's have a look. Let's say, right, here's a Valentine's Day, one of the only Valentine's Day stamps I've ever got hold of here. There we go. It's been through the post, 14p, which means it's quite an old stamp. It says St. Valentine's Day. It's got 2 little cupids and 2 little birds having a bit of a smooch at the top. There we go. One of my standards. So, to people who are new, my needle minders are, I do several types, but this is one of the types that I particularly like doing because they're literally all unique. Even if I have 20 of the same stamp, each one's unique. Robin cuts me with his bandsaw, very, very slim. So they're very light, little slivers of wood. That is literally like 1 millimetre, 2 millimetres thick. I paste the stamp. This one is obvious. This one is used. It's been through. It's been through the British system. It's got a postmark on it. I paste the stamp on. I then cut and shape round the stamp, and then I put a layer of resin over the top so that it's completely sealed and it's completely smooth. And then I've got, they're that strong. They're that strong. They're really very strong, my needle minders. They're very strong magnets. You get the magnet and you always glass cabochon on the back. Just because your back should be pretty cool. My stitching back's awful and I couldn't care less about the back of my stitching. But the back of my needle minders are always pretty. You always get a little something on the back of them. So, this is my giveaway. Basically, if you drop me a comment, I dib from the comments. So, any kind of comment, and I'll put you in the dip. Unless it's horrid. If you leave me a really horrid comment, I'm not going to put you in my dip for win. But nobody's ever left me a horrible comment. I've had a couple of those random see Kinky Girls Online comments, which obviously you bin straight away. I've had a couple of them in my time. But I'll put that there so I know which one it was. But other than that, just drop me a comment and I'll put you in the dip. And Jane L, this is yours. And I think I'm done for today. Plans going forwards this week, I'm just going to see what I fancy stitching on. As I say, I managed almost the full week with no full coverage, and then last night I really fancied some full coverage, so I picked up Better See You With, and then I looked at it and went, oh my god, the lines on it. So we'll see how that comes out of the, I nearly said oven, we'll see how that comes out of the washing machine, and depending on how that is, depends on whether I restart it or not. If I don't need to restart it, I'll carry on with that. If I do need to restart it, I'll pull out one of my other ones and get on. I do now have the 3 turquoises I was missing for Shipping Trees, so I could get on with Shipping Trees, because that's quite close to a finish. I think that's me about done, guys. So this is still going to be nearly an hour. It always is, isn't it? I'll have a little look, see at the, if I've got any videos. But if I haven't, that's me, and I will see you next week. Thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you to my new subscribers, and thank you to my old subscribers. Thank you for being loyal to me and watching me when you just basically get a pile of drivel. And thank you to Jen Lee for her wonderful 24 hours of cross stitch. I enjoyed it really very, very much. It was very enjoyable, and I do like looking through other people's on their Facebook group. I do like looking through other people's to see what they've done in the same slot of time. You always get good ideas. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye. Yeah, it's really foggy this morning. Unbelievably foggy. I can't see my hand in front of my face. That's really quite alarming. Right, look at this fog. Beautifully clear up at my house, come down the hill into this. It's like pea soup. Oh well, got 2 days off coming up. Woohoo! Goodness me, what a morning. How foggy.